Sometimes, in the quiet hours of pain, when the world feels empty and your heart feels heavier than stone, something extraordinary happens. You are not abandoned. You are not alone. A silent force moves, so unseen hands arrange the world around you, and just when you are about to break, help arrives. Mysterious, precise, unstoppable. Heart-touching and attention-grabbing start. There are moments in life when words alone do not seem enough. Moments when the weight on your chest feels too heavy, when the night seems too long, and the light of hope flickers so faintly it might as well be gone. It is precisely in these fragile, trembling moments that the soul becomes open, raw, real, vulnerable. And it is there, right there, that the most powerful connection can be made. When you begin speaking to a heart that is already hurting, you do not need complicated phrases or dramatic gestures. You need authenticity. You need to reach into the universal human experience, the hidden, tender places we all guard but long for someone to touch. That is the foundation of a heart-touching and attention-grabbing start. Not noise, not shouting, but silence broken by a whisper that says, "I see you." The first lines must not only capture attention, they must earn trust. If you rush, if you speak as if you are reciting a memorized script, the moment is lost. But if you dare to slow down, to speak almost as if to one wounded soul sitting in the back of a crowded room, you unlock something sacred, the listener's heart. Why does this matter? Because attention today is fleeting. People scroll, people swipe, people escape. But pain holds people still. Realness holds people still. A voice that speaks into the private wars we each fight inside ourselves makes people stop running, makes them listen, makes them hope again. Consider this, when you begin by saying, "Sometimes, in the quiet hours of pain, when the world feels empty and your heart feels heavier than stone, a broken bar," you are not making a grand promise. You are telling the listener, "I know what it feels like to carry invisible battles." You are speaking into loneliness without naming it. You are breathing air into suffocating places. You are building a bridge from your soul to theirs. The heart is moved not by solutions first, but by recognition. The greatest motivational speakers, the true healers of words, do not rush to offer answers at the start. They first open a door. They first sit down in the dust and the cold with the broken-hearted and say, "You are seen." In that sacred pause, walls fall, defenses crumble, and the listener says inside themselves, "Maybe I am not as alone as I thought." The most powerful heart-touching openings work because they create an immediate emotional mirror. They reflect back to the listener the thing they feel but have been unable to say. They name the unspoken heaviness, and by doing so, they offer the first gift, relief. Relief that someone else understands. Relief that their struggle is not some isolated, shameful defect. Relief that, perhaps, even this darkness has companions. Attention-grabbing starts are not about tricks. They are about truth. They are about knowing that beneath the noise of life, every human heart asks the same ancient questions. Am I alone? Does this pain have meaning? Is there help for me? A speech that touches the heart immediately must answer, without heavy-handedness, with its very tone, "No, you are not alone." Yes, there is meaning. Yes, help is already closer than you think. Imagine you are lost in a forest, tired, hungry, cold, and you suddenly see a flickering light through the trees. Would you not stop? Would you not draw closer, even if only out of desperate hope? That is what a powerful opening does. It is the flicker in the forest. It is the fragile flame that says, "Come closer, warm yourself." Listen, in this particular speech, the start leverages the profound emotional truths we all share, the sense of abandonment during hard times, the heaviness of unseen burdens, and the incredible beauty of unexpected help. It sets a tone of seriousness, but not despair, of gravity, but also of hidden hope. It does not scream at the audience, it beckons them quietly but irresistibly. Notice the choice of words: silent force, unseen hands, when you are about to break. These are not abstract concepts. They are visceral experiences. They take the listener out of their busy mind and into their lived memory. They feel the cold bench. They remember the night they almost gave up. They see again the time a hand reached out to steady them when they stumbled. By doing this, the opening lines do not just get the listener's attention, they bind it with invisible threads of shared experience. They create an emotional contract. I will speak your pain if you will trust me to guide you to hope. Another key element in a heart-touching start is humility. The speech does not begin by positioning the speaker as a hero or an expert. It begins by positioning both speaker and listener on the same ground, vulnerable, struggling, hoping. This is critical. Pride repels wounded hearts. Humility draws them in. In the age of endless motivational noise, the rarest and most powerful voice is Stoic philosophy woven naturally. True Stoic philosophy does not announce itself with banners or grand declarations. It is a quiet, steady river moving beneath the visible events of life. When Stoic wisdom is woven naturally into a speech, it does not feel like a lesson. It feels like recognition, a mirror of life's quiet truths that the listener already knows deep inside but has perhaps forgotten in the noise and chaos of living. In this speech, Stoic principles are not quoted or named directly. They are embodied in every line, living within the fabric of the message itself. This is a vital strategy because true persuasion and true motivation come not from telling someone what philosophy you follow, but by showing them that the philosophy already lives inside their own story. The first Stoic principle evident is the acceptance of hardship without bitterness. Rather than painting struggle as a mistake or a punishment, the speech frames difficulty as a natural, even necessary, part of life. There is no anger against fate, no self-pity, just the calm acknowledgement that pain visits every human soul, and that survival depends not on avoiding pain, but on meeting it with courage and endurance. This is pure stoicism, amor fati, the love of one's fate, even the painful parts. When the speech describes how silent forces move and unseen hands arrange the world, it reflects another Stoic idea, the belief in a rational order to the universe. Whether or not one names it providence, the Stoics trusted that behind the apparent randomness of life, there was a structure, a meaning, a reason. Even when individual moments seem cruel or senseless, the larger view reveals that all is as it should be. In the same way, the speech gently invites the listener to believe that even their hardest moments are not wasted, they are part of a greater pattern they may not yet see. Another profound Stoic thread is found in the way help is described. The angels that appear are not summoned by desperate cries. They are not bought with bargains or prayers. They simply come unexpected, unasked, at exactly the moment needed. This reflects the Stoic trust in external events, the idea that while we cannot control what comes to us, we can trust that life often brings what we most deeply require. It also emphasizes another key Stoic principle, that virtue and strength often come through community, through shared humanity, through the ways we support one another without needing to be asked or rewarded. The speech also resists the temptation to frame the listener as a victim. This is crucial. Stoicism teaches that while we may suffer injuries, betrayals, and loss, we are never truly victims unless we surrender our inner freedom. The opening acknowledges pain honestly, but it never bows to despair. It does not tell the listener that their life is unfair. It tells them that their life, even in its hardest moments, carries a secret protection, a resilience already inside them, a network of unseen forces guiding them forward. This positioning strengthens the listener rather than weakening them. It restores dignity rather than feeding helplessness. In weaving Stoicism naturally, the speech uses storytelling instead of arguments. Consider the story of the man on the park bench, facing total collapse, and the mysterious figure who offers a few words that change everything. There is no heavy moralizing, no lecture, just a glimpse of truth, that often the right words, the right presence, appear when we least expect them and need them most. This style of storytelling mirrors the Stoic preference for examples over arguments. The Stoics themselves, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, often taught through anecdotes, through reflections on small, seemingly ordinary events that revealed eternal truths. The choice of tone is also vital. It is calm, measured, respectful. In Stoic philosophy, there is great emphasis on controlling the passions, not eradicating feeling, but mastering it so that feeling serves reason and virtue rather than overpowering them. The speech, likewise, acknowledges deep emotion but never allows emotion to drown reason. It recognizes sorrow, loneliness, and fear, but it does not wallow in them. It lifts the listener gently upward, toward resilience, understanding, acceptance. Another layer of Stoic wisdom woven naturally is the emphasis on recognizing good without demanding it. When the speech says we must recognize the angels when they come, it echoes the Stoic principle of gratitude and the idea that we should be awake to the blessings hidden within hardship. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that life owes us. Highly effective emotional story. Stories have the ancient power to bypass the mind's defenses and reach directly into the human heart. Where arguments demand agreement and facts seek proof, stories simply invite you to feel. In the context of this speech, the emotional story of the man on the park bench is crafted not as a decoration but as a bridge, a way to carry the listener beyond surface understanding into deep, resonant empathy. It is not a story told for entertainment, it is a story chosen to mirror the secret battles many carry, and to offer a vision of hope arising out of absolute despair. The man in the story is not given a name. This is intentional and profoundly effective. Without a name, he becomes a vessel into which the listener can pour their own experiences, their own faces, their own wounds. He is every person who has ever faced the dark night of the soul. By keeping the details general yet vivid, a cold evening, coins rattling in a pocket, the weight of everything lost, the story paints just enough to trigger the listener's memory without controlling it. The listener is free to fill in the missing pieces with their own life, their own failures, betrayals, fears. The homeless figure who approaches is equally powerful in his simplicity. He is not presented as a saint or a magical figure, but as an ordinary man marked by hardship, someone who looks by the world's shallow standards, broken and discarded. And yet, it is precisely from such a one that the words of life come. This inversion is deliberate and emotionally potent. It reminds the listener of an eternal truth. Often our saving comes not from the powerful, the beautiful, or the expected, but from the places we overlook, the people we dismiss, the moments we nearly miss. The dialogue itself is brief but unforgettable. You don't have to lose yourself just because you lost everything else. This line is the soul of the entire story. It strikes like a hammer against the lie that external loss must mean internal defeat. It offers in a few simple words a core Stoic teaching, that what is essential within you cannot be taken by any external force unless you surrender it. It reminds the listener that while control over circumstances may be lost, control over character, spirit, and identity remains. It is a message of radical hope, quietly delivered, infinitely strong. The structure of the story also follows a natural and emotionally satisfying arc, a descent into despair, a surprising encounter, a pivotal moment of choice, and a slow, humble ascent into a new life. This mirrors the journeys many listeners have lived or are living now. It validates the depth of pain without glorifying it, and it lights a realistic path out of darkness. The man does not suddenly become rich or famous after his encounter. He finds small work, stability, a rebuilt life based on humility and persistence. This grounds the hope in reality. It avoids the false, glittering promises so common in motivational speaking and offers instead something sturdier, the hope of ordinary resurrection. Another powerful element of the story is the disappearance of the homeless man. When the protagonist searches for him later and finds no trace, it invites a sense of mystery without forcing a supernatural explanation. Was it an angel? Was it a chance encounter? Was it simply the universe responding to a desperate cry? The story does not answer. It leaves the question open, respecting the intelligence and spiritual instincts of the listener. This openness is deeply engaging because it allows listeners of many beliefs and backgrounds to find their own meaning without feeling manipulated. The emotional effectiveness of the story is heightened by its timing within the speech. It arrives after the listener's heart has been opened by the initial recognition of pain and the quiet introduction of unseen help. By this point, the listener is not only ready but eager for proof that hope is possible. The story does not lecture, it shows. It embodies everything the opening words hinted at. It allows the listener to see through narrative what they had only dared to feel. The story also reinforces the theme of unseen protection in a subtle but profound way. It suggests that while life may strip away comforts, dreams, even relationships, it does not strip away the unseen forces that guard and guide. This offers a deep psychological comfort. The idea that one is never truly abandoned, even when all visible supports are gone. It strengthens resilience by feeding the quiet belief that there is meaning in survival, even when survival seems all that is left. Another key technique that makes the story highly effective is the emotional pacing. It does not rush from loss to redemption. It lingers in the pain, allowing the listener to feel the depth of despair before introducing hope. This mirrors real emotional healing, which is never instant or clean. It acknowledges that real transformation often begins in the very moment when giving up seems easier than going on. By honoring the slowness of real change, the story feels authentic rather than fabricated. The simplicity of the language used in the story is another essential part of its power. No complex metaphors, no ornate descriptions, just cold, hunger, a park bench, a worn figure, a few words, and a life quietly changed. This starkness leaves space for the listener's emotions to breathe. It avoids the mistake of overloading the story with sentimentality, which can create emotional resistance rather than emotional openness. It is also important that the protagonist's recovery is presented as a choice. After hearing the homeless man's words, he decides not to give up. This upholds a critical Stoic value, the centrality of personal choice in shaping destiny. It does not suggest that help alone saves a person. It shows that help can ignite the spark, but the choice to rise belongs to the individual. This is deeply empowering. It leaves the listener not passive, waiting for salvation, but active, choosing to meet life again with open eyes and a brave heart. Moreover, the story's setting at the cold bench, the darkness acts as a symbolic landscape mirroring the inner world of despair. The external bleakness reflects the internal emptiness, making the encounter with help even more vivid and meaningful. The listener does not simply hear about the story, they see it, feel it, live it alongside the man. This immersion deepens emotional impact and makes the message unforgettable. Finally, the story creates a lasting emotional anchor for the entire speech. Long after the philosophical points are forgotten, long after the opening lines fade from memory, the image of a broken man finding unexpected strength from an unexpected source will remain. It will surface in the listener's mind in their own moments of despair, quietly whispering the same message: you don't have to lose yourself just because you lost everything else. And in that whisper, there is the seed of courage, the beginning of resilience, the reminder that unseen angels still walk among us. Would you also like a version that slightly tightens the emotional flow to make it even sharper for video or live delivery? I can also make it cinematic style if you want it even more intense. Life itself, harsh and beautiful as it is, ensures that you are guarded by powers you cannot always see. The key is to open your eyes not just to the trials, but also to the quiet miracles stitched within them. Stand firm, be grateful, persevere, and trust even when you cannot see them, the angels are already here.